compliment what you just said, because I'm an Ashkenazi Jew from Lithuanian background, Hungarian background, an American mother, because they came to America, and now Mexican, and understanding so much what's happening in the United States with our family, who's an American family. And I believe so much of what you're saying. You say that we have, that the Spanish Inquisition really converted people. We know of people in Monterrey because the people in Monterrey really came with Columbus, and they went to the Reino de León, and they were basically families who came with Colón that didn't have to say that they were Jewish, and they didn't have to comply with the laws because he needed people on the boats. So what's interesting is you don't convert people, because I believe that we have blood. You talked about blood, I talk about DNA. And this DNA we share with Muslims, because we're the children actually of Abraham, according to all these ancestors. So when I find somebody that's converted, they seem to be so interested in knowing their roots as being Jewish. So I just want to conclude with something, because Sylvia said I should really hurry. The fact that Ashkenazi Jews, and I'm not being prejudiced against Mishra or the other, because we're very friendly with everybody and we're open. But I believe that this generation that created the state of Israel evidently had in mind what you kept saying, which is what Ben-Zion Netanyahu transmitted to his son, which is not the revisionist movement, but the Holocaust as a referral to a whole generation that was lost, if not many others, and this being guilty, you know, it's the guilt of the survivor, and it's why weren't we able to do anything else? Why did not the United States, why didn't
bomb the tracks?
Bomb the tracks, and that would have really saved so many people in the concentration camps, or in fact, to avoid them going to the camps of killing. So I think that all of this history, as you're saying, really is so important, because blood is blood, DNA is DNA, and biology is biology. And so I have to cut here. I have so many other questions. Thank you so much.
I will say that you know, in many ways, it was, and this I find fascinating in curriculums in Israel, right? In newer history curriculums in Israel. So, you know, it was absolutely a very valid criticism that so much of the history education was Ashkenazi, right? And that absolutely needed to be changed. What's interesting is when they change it. So what you would learn now, when you would be going into, you know, early secondary school, right? It's, you have your section about the Shoah, you have your section about the Holocaust, which is still extensive. But then you begin learning about pogroms in Baghdad, right? Pogroms in Damascus, pogroms, you know, in the Mizrahi world. But what's interesting is that by just choosing to focus on pogroms and destruction, that in my mind is inherently Ashkenaz. You know, it's like we can also speak about all of the Mizrahi pogroms, all of the Mizrahi destruction, but it's the choice to give the context of destruction that I find to be deeply, deeply Ashkenaz, right? So even if you're talking about Damascus, it's still this coloring of oppression and death. I think that one of the things that I find to be very off-putting about what you were speaking about is the very idea of genetic identity. I am deeply opposed to it. It freaks me out enormously. And I think that probably the greatest, it's interesting, right? Let me put this forward and I'll let this out into the room and everyone will do with this what they will, right? Israel, which is a country that, can send you a text message on your phone and can find out exactly where you are and everyone that you've talked to and everything that you've done. Israel, a country that has perfected drone technology to an amazing extent. Israel, which has perfected certain degrees of cancer treatments, right? And treatments for genetic diseases, right? That are miracles of robotics. What is one thing that they haven't done? Genetic testing to prove that you're Jewish. And if you want to go and to get an Israeli passport, the same thing, what do they ask you? They say, what's your mother's name? Where are they buried? Send me a photograph of the tombstone. Where's your grandmother buried? Send me a photograph of her tombstone. Maybe you have a birth certificate, maybe this, maybe that. And of course they could just give you a genetic test. And they could say, okay, according to 99.9% with a 10% degree of margin of error, you're Jewish. Why don't they do that? They don't do that because they're afraid of the truth of it. They're afraid that it actually is a standard that is Nazi, it's a fascist standard. They're afraid of finding out things about themselves and about their own diversity that would delegitimize the nation. And so even now in the year 2023, when we could just take a little thing and put it in your cheek or put it in your nose, put it into something else and give you an answer, even now you still have to go find photographs and you have to get a photocopy of some old archive. And it's telling, and I don't think they will ever change it.
Thank you. Well, I know that
Sorry, they told me that we have only 4 minutes.
You only have 4 minutes, okay. Well, I just wanted to mention some of our professors, which were, one of them came to Mexico because he was an exile for the McCarthy period, and he wrote about the Inquisition, and that was Seymour Liebman. And all these Ashkenazi Jews who started, and then of course, then later. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this.
Claro que esta conversación todavía puede continuar porque tenemos